Okay, so here we have a slightly more complicated activity diagram. The main thing I want you to notice about this one is that it has what we call swim lanes, for what are probably visually obvious reasons. Now, don't worry too much about exactly what options we've got here. There's quite a deal of flexibility, and if you really want to know, you can look in the UML standard. But the fundamental idea is that you can do different swim lanes in order to represent who or what is carrying out any particular activity. And that's useful when you're describing processes that involve cooperation between different people or organisations, or indeed objects. So this swim lane here is the order department, this one is the accounting department, and this one down here is the customer. So what we've got going on here is, first of all, we've got this is a start marker, just like in state diagrams, and means the same thing. So it says this is the first activity. They're optional. The one we saw in the other video didn't have one, but this one does. Okay, so first of all, we're going to receive an order. Then we have a choice depending on whether the order is accepted or not. And by the way, there's a slight bug here, because really this top transition ought to have an else on it. So how about if we add that, shall we? Let's go. Else. Oops. That's better. Okay, so anyway, one way or the other, we either do a complicated path or we don't accept the order, in which case we just end up closing the order. And then this is a stop marker, which in an activity diagram will cease the entire activity, the whole diagram. Okay? If we wanted to just say this is going to be a sync for an individual token, so this particular flow doesn't need to go on anymore, and you might want to do that if there were parallel flows, then in that case you would just do a circle with a cross through it, which is called a flow final pseudostate. This is called an activity final pseudostate. It stops the entire thing. Okay. That's by the by. What's going on here? After we filled the order, we've got a fork bar, just like you saw it before. And the interesting thing here is that the order department carries on to ship the order, whilst in parallel the accounting department goes off to send the invoice. And so this is obviously one of the main situations in which you want to show parallel activity, when there are two parallel organisations or actors carrying them out. What else do I want to say about this? Yeah, this rectangle here, invoice, best to think of this as informal notation, I think. It represents an object, and the idea is that it represents an object which is sort of serving as the interface between two activities. In this case, the invoice is being the interfacing object between sending the invoice and the customer making the payment. I wouldn't ask you to use these, I think, in this course, although I might expect you to be able to read them. And I think that might be all I want to say here. You can see how this works, right? So the customer makes the payment, and then the accounting department accepts the payment. And when the order has been shipped and the payment has been accepted, then we're ready to go off and close the order. It's quite trusting of us to ship the order before we know that payment has been made, I think, but that's what happens.